Welcome, everyone, to the second day of Hearthstone Grandmasters for the second season of 2020. Today is August 15th, 2020. And on this day in history, independence for India was claimed after nearly 200 years of British rule. So, give or take about the average length of a priest mirror. And, we want to celebrate, things around the globe. There's actually, I've met some people who were from India through Hearthstone, TJ. And that was like the first time I had seen like esports fans from India come out, because I think they were at BlizzCon and they said, "Oh, we're from India and we love watching you." And I was like, "Wow, that's really cool. I've never actually seen that before." So, well, that's a really cool connection and a fun reminder that there's people all over the world tuning in all the time to watch the Hearthstone.
Yeah, it's a global phenomenon, Dan. That's right. People from around the world just come to tune in, watch me and you. But taking a look at our
it's kind of true. You're like half memeing, but there's people. We have a lot of representation across the globe. People that love the game and love to tune in and watch the competitive side of it.
Yeah.
But look no further than the Americas for top level play, centered by this guy, Bloodyface, who has his warrior band, and Firebat, who is looking quite ominous, peering just with the top half of his head.
He's sneaking. All right, there he is.
Yes.
Yeah, so interesting lineups on both sides. Firebat playing the Libram Paladin, which honestly performed terribly throughout the Swiss port, and even that's Libram Paladin performed terribly. Given its win rate, I'm surprised he made it to the top 8. Libram Paladin just seems like it's not cut out for some Grandmasters play, and I think the matchup's going to hinge on whether or not Firebat can get a win through with the Libram Paladin. Without taking too many losses on it, so his other decks can clean up. The other interesting deck in the series is Bloodyface's Rogue. It's a little different from kind of the standard like aggro rogues that we see. It's got a little bit more value packed in. It's also running an Infiltrator Lillian, and then Firebat's Galakrond Priest is also a little bit different than what we've seen. It's a more classic Galakrond Priest with not many new cards, only Draconic Studies and Raised Dead. He's not even running Cabal Acolyte or Mindrender Lucia. So it's going to be an interesting matchup for sure, but this Rogue deck, I think, from Bloodyface was the one that I want to talk about the most. So I'm glad we're getting to see it in Game 1. It does run the full stealth package. It runs Working Infiltrator, Spy Mistress, the Sneaky Delinquent, plus the Greyheart Sage. But like I said, more value. Evil Miscreants. It runs Wand Thieves. Feral Cats, has Janus Brabant Infiltrator Lillian at the top end.
Whoa!
So it's wow. And he did perform quite well with it throughout the Swiss portion of the event of this week. So I tried playing a little bit of it, and I didn't perform well when I was playing it on ladder. I played almost 20 games, and I went 50-50. So it's I'm not sold on it yet, but Bloodyface sells me on decks that I hate, like Charge Zoo, because of how well he plays them. So I'm excited to see it in action.
Well, I mean, I wasn't really expecting Firebat to show up today with a fully shaven head.
Oh yeah,
seems very freshly minted. I guess it's been several days since I last checked out Firebat stream, so maybe that's happened in recent times. Either way, coming out bold with no hair on his head except for a little bit of that stash and, of course, his fierce eyebrows. Firebat, like I said, playing that Libram Paladin up against the aggressive Rogue that features that stealth package from Bloodyface. I'm a little bit on the fence with both of these decks as well, but, one of them is going to win this game, TJ.
Yes, it is. And the Libram Paladin, that's a good start. He's got both outdoor attendants. He's got the outdoor Truthseeker plus first day of school. That's kind of the start that you want. Bloodyface is going to use this Ashtongue Slayer just for tempo, which is kind of how you beat Paladin, honestly. Their deck they don't have too many ways to come back from a board that they've lost outside of just making a big thing and buffing it. It's a pretty one-dimensional deck. It's quite straightforward. The only removal they have being Consecration and a weapon from Lightforged Zealot. That's about it. And not even any ways to generate things. They just play their biggest thing every turn, and that's essentially what their game plan is. So if you can keep their board in check throughout all the stages of the game, you're in a good position, and that's exactly what bloodyface is going to do here for going a 2-mana Sneaky Delinquent or Temple Berserker just to dagger down this Fiendish Servant and push a little bit of extra damage with the dagger. So you can tell that bloodyface, probably from ladder, has had a lot of practice against Libram Paladin since it was the most popular deck for a while when the expansion first hit.
Yeah, I think Paladin just made sense from a deck building perspective, since you were able to play 2 main variants of Paladin. As you know, you could play this one of the new cards, Goody 2 Shields, which is one, a great pun. 2, very sturdy, solid minion that can gain Divine Shield twice if you use the Spell Burst mechanic that is new to Scholomance Academy. And you know, if you're playing like all of these Paladin cards, you expect major value off of the pure Paladin aspect of it, but you know, there's not even a lot going on with that. So it's going to be interesting to see how Firebat uses his Paladin to be aggressive, because part of the criticism against Paladin is that there's not too much wiggle room. You just got to play your biggest minion, and it's a little bit too predictable sometimes for high level play. So I am curious to see if this Paladin deck can wrestle a tempo away from Rogue, which seems to be playing a lot cheaper cards and trying to swipe that momentum for their side.
Yeah, I think bloodyface's deck is well positioned to do that. Love the Cold Neophyte there as well too from bloodyface. Had multiple 2-mana options, but this shut off the Blessing of Kings coming down on turn 4, which is really the only sort of disruption that can cause, because this Libram's going to be so cheap that it doesn't matter, as you can see with the play there for Firebat. But this is this is what I'm talking about with kind of the weakness of the deck. They play a minion, and that's it. And of course, Firebat with his trademark drink straight from the Brita.
Wow,
he's just such an interesting person.
Yeah, I mean,
it's funny.
It's efficient, right?
It
You're
is.
always trying to squeeze out every little bit of efficiency, and drinking straight from the filter and not even worrying about cups.
Yep.
Save money, save time.
Yeah.
It checks out.
Not efficient given.
Firebat picks up.
Oh, go ahead. That's a stupid joke.
I was just gonna say. He has some efficient stall as well through the Ray of Frost, which is a good pickup against this Paladin deck, unless they have taunts in the way, which is Aldor Truthseeker can definitely provide.
Yeah.
Go ahead, DJ.
It's too late now for the joke. It's too late. It was dumb anyway.
I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. I was trying not to get too sidetracked by Firebat's fun antics, but alas, I forgot how magnetic he is on camera.
Yeah, and how easily distracted I am. But
right.
Yes, so one of the cards that I've seen a few times on ladder, but not too much in some of these competitive decks, is the Infiltrator Lillian. 4-mana 4/2 stealth, and its death rattle is it summons a 4/2 Forsaken Lillian that attacks a random enemy. That random enemy could also be your opponent's face, so you could use it as sort of a little bit of some burn damage. But yeah, Firebat, there's no point in trading off these minions. There's too many small minions on the board. It really doesn't matter. You just have to kind of force bloodyface to have the answers, and that's sometimes what you have to do with Libram Paladin, because you can't fall into this trap where you're just trading minions over and over again. You're giving your opponent more efficient ways to push through damage. But I mean, this is about as efficient as it gets for bloodyface. The Ray of Frost is gonna pretty much lock him out of the game, because even one of these taunts is just going to get eaten up so easily, and double eviscerate in hand for bloodyface. This game is done.
Yeah, I understand it. Firebat was okay. Hold on, that might help. Might help though, because there's a little bit more going on to it than just the death rattles that you see. Because Infiltrator Lillian, if she dies, will summon a 4/2 Forsaken Lillian that'll attack an enemy, and it could be Firebat to the face for a Divine Shield. And that's good. It saves Firebat 4 life. But we know that he's dead because of that double eviscerate. And this is part of the problem with the Paladin deck, right? Is that it can be dealt with if your opponent has some of these efficient tools, and Paladin doesn't have any really fast tempo swings that are pretty dramatic outside of the Devout Pupil, and it was too expensive for Firebat to play. So looks like his push to try to set up a 2-turn lethal did not really pan out. As the Lightborn Zealot sets in his hand, and bloodyface off to a quick victory, 1-0 with that aggro rogue.
Yeah, and continuing kind of his dominance with the aggro rogue from the Swiss rounds earlier on this week, where the deck performed really well, and Firebat kind of continuing the trend of his Libram Paladin, which performed terribly. I think it was like his Libram Paladin went 5-13. Obviously, you know, he had to have at least 5 wins because he had 5 match wins in the Swiss, and it wasn't banned. But 13 losses. So for every win he got in a series with the deck, on average, he lost twice. Considering you know, you can add a couple of those game losses into his match losses. So now it's 5-14.
Correction, GJ. Yes,
because he just lost right
14.
now.
Yes.
But pretty insane. And overall, Libram Paladin was 27-51. Big yikes.
It's not a very good win rate, TJ.
No, it's terrible.
Not a very good win rate. Alternatively, the stealth rogue that bloodyface is playing is now 7-0, according to Lorinda, our in-house statistician, and of course, a caster extraordinaire himself. Let's go into game number 2. bloodyface immediately queuing up the Tempo Mage, a deck that I think is becoming a little bit more under fire, just based off of its middling performance. I'm still not exactly sure on Mage, but if Mage goes up against Paladin, maybe it has the opportunity for Mage to get an easy win. Perhaps indeed. It's the Tempo Mage is still so far floating around a 50% win rate, so it's pretty much just average, and it is the deck with, I think, the largest sample size of matches. So of course, it is going to naturally float more towards a 50% win rate. Because of that, we've seen that happen all the time, you know, except for the couple times that players left Demon Hunter up at the beginning of Season 1 of Grandmasters, when we had a decent sample size and the win rate was absurd. So you can tell that it does have the power in some games, but then there's some games where it can fall flat, you know, notably in just Sans. Match yesterday, it felt like he just couldn't get any good randomly generated stuff, which is honestly what the deck does best, is keep chains rolling with Sorcerer's Apprentice turns. So bloodyface actually decided to not play the magic trick last turn, because he has Shinval in hand, he has Sorcerer's Apprentice in hand. He's kind of waiting for the right moment to play it, because he doesn't know what he wants yet. With if his Sorcerer's Apprentice sticks with Shinvala, that could turn into an extra 5/5. And you know, really, with the Sorcerer's Apprentice, there's no reason to play it for full mana cost if you can hold on to it and get additional value from mana cycle or Shinvala. Yep, it's totally fair. And the Firebrand immediately shuts down the McGurgle that got played. Yeah, I like saving those kinds of combos for the Tempo Mage, which is, you know, it's slowly transforming into just being like a mana cyclone / like random card generation mage, because you're just improvising combos, and it's like a hybrid tempo and combo deck. A lot of times you would like to fight for the board presence and go for these dramatic swings, but a lot of times you're also saving big, powerful, dramatic combos to get onto the board quickly and then start to deal damage to your opponent off of whatever you're able to generate.
Yeah. So this turn, bloodyface, he could have gone just like a double trade Shinvala Wand Thief. Because, you know, looking at the Libram Paladin, it doesn't have a way to answer a 5 health minion on turn 5. Lightforged Zealot can get you a True Silver Champion. But that's it. Like, that's literally the only way. If he cleared off the minion and just dropped a Shinvala, the next turn he could have gotten at least 1 5/5 with Sorcerer's Apprentice, possibly even more. He's going to be able to go for it this turn, but he gave Firebat a turn of development that he wasn't guaranteed to be able to clear off. So,
yeah.
I think he
It
could have
is
gone for the
kind of
Shinvala a
interesting.
turn sooner.
Totally. And the Chinvala does end up getting pretty nice value here off of the Rays of Frost. That's going to be used to push. Firebat
He's dead.
doesn't have things like Consecration. He's just too far behind on the board. And this is sort of the criticism against the build that plays Argent Braggart and Allura. High Abyss Allura is a new card. It's a Priest and Paladin 4-drop legendary that when you spell burst, you cast a spell from your deck and targets itself if possible. And what you try to do is you try to maximize big stats. So this Argent Braggart for really cheap can combo with it and play things like Blessing of Kings. But the issue is that it's kind of all in on winning the board early, and if it loses it, which we've seen 2 games now that Firebat's lost that board, it's just too far behind. And Mage, with its really efficient tools to maintain tempo, like Ray of Frost, gives this deck a lot of nightmares, especially since they don't have ways to even generate cards to keep up with Lightforged Crusader.
Brain freeze. Oh my gosh. This is
Pretty nasty.
Yeah. Firebat doesn't even play Libram of Justice, which he essentially cut every comeback mechanism that Paladin has at its disposal. So when you see this board, there is there's literally no way that Firebat can come back from this. Even if he does pick up Consecration or even double Consecration, we said it. He just makes a big minion and then hopes it sticks. That's the only way that he wins games. And right now that just seems there is potential for him to chain Libram of Hopes later on in the game. If he gets enough Libram cost reduction, you can go chain Libram of Hopes with and then Lady Liadrin if you've cast them on minions, and then Libram of Hopes again, and then put these big Divine Shield taunts in the way that your opponent has to get through, and eventually you have a big enough minion where you can swing and kill them. But it rarely works out that way. See, Frostbolt, it's just gonna freeze again. It's just freeze's biggest thing, and 12, 15, 16, 17, 20. Yeah, it's it's lethal by a lot.
I'm just reminded of Firebat's tweets where he's just like, holy smokes, Paladin is bad. I'm gonna pull up his social media feed here as bloodyface cruises to a 2-0 lead. But Firebat said, made it to top 8 with one of my decks having single-digit win rate, overcoming my bad lineup choice and winning anyway. Hell yeah. We'll see. I mean, Firebat getting to the top 8 might be an accomplishment in itself, because with the Paladin in his lineup, that could be such a sharp Achilles heel that he wasn't supposed to make top 8, but yet because of his good play, he was able to salvage that. And that's okay, right? Maybe sometimes, Firebat, he's been playing a lot of different kind of games in his offseason. He played a lot of Battlegrounds and grinded that super hard. And maybe that mentality of, improving an 8th to a 5th place is where he's thinking right now.
Yeah, even in the Grandmasters chat, he made a comment when decklist released, only me and the new guys brought Paladin. The new guys must be pro, referring to Rami and Briarthorn. And then 2 minutes later, he goes, or trash. So even he was on the fence about it before he even played a single game with the deck. And he was the only Libram Paladin to qualify, I believe, to the top 8. So we'll see if he can get the job done. I feel like Druid might be one of the ones where it can, because he can stick early boards and buff him out of range. But Druid can do some downright unfair things. Now, bloodyface is playing the Malagos Druid as opposed to the Survival of the Fittest Druid. So he does have additional options for removal in the early game. I still don't know if that makes it better or worse against this deck. He can stop Firebat's aggression a little bit, but it does make his game plan harder as you get to the later stages of the game. And it does seem a little bit less consistent in the mid portion of the game, right? Because you have combo pieces like Germination and Force Ward and Omu that can not be dead cards, but be tough to use cards and not give you as much power as the Survival of the Fittest in some situations. But good start for Firebat. Has first day of school plus the Aldor Attendant to start things off with a Libram in hand. So can start to get the ball rolling on building up a big board.
Love it. I think that, you know, Druid is the class for Paladin to beat on paper because it's just good while you take advantage of their ramp time, and bloodyface doesn't have the dragon in hand to ramp Breath of Dream, so it's just 2 mana to draw a single card, which is quite subpar. There is a chance that he draws a dragon off of the top of the deck and then gets that mana crystal, but no such luck. And this is the kind of opening that I think Firebat was hoping for. His turns 4 and 5 look pretty solid. And, you know, that Lightforged Zealot does do a lot. These Paladin-only centric cards, Lightforged Zealot and Lightforged Crusader, which again, Firebat's playing the non-Libram of Justice, non-Lightforged Crusader version in order to get more stats on the board. This is a class that he should be able to beat. And it kind of lines up with the stats. Firebat's deck is, you know, trying to clock in a 25 to 30% win rate, and eventually you're going to match up against Druids because you don't get the 1 out of 3 win rate because not everyone has things available for the Druid to beat. But yeah, it is curious to see how Firebat can rack up that pressure and whether or not bloodyface can survive it.
Yeah, he's got the curve. He's also got the high roll power potential of the High Abyss Allura, which can sometimes pull out a Libram of Hope, which gives you an 8/8 as early as turn 4. You have the coin, or if you've discounted your Libram of Wisdom enough and have it in hand.
All right, well, taking down just whatever he can right now while using that Twilight Runner, but that Blessing of Kings, very nice on curve to get the immediate damage. There isn't a cheap spell right now to play with the High Abyss Allura, so he would obviously love to do that and get the big stats, but this is exactly the kind of scenario that Druid does tend to flounder a little bit more, and now we're going to see Nature Studies or whatever card draw here from bloodyface be done here. Guardian Animals. He could pick up 2 Lightning Blooms. That is really optimistic thinking.
Yeah, this is kind of
why it is possible.
This is kind of why I maybe would have liked to see the draw first, because I think the draw will tell you more about what spell you want, because you don't get to choose what the draw is. Like, if he knew that he was going to pick up Overgrowth from his draw, maybe he picks Guardian Animals, right?
Yeah, but he... Yeah, you're right. Yeah, okay.
So
it is interesting to think about.
Because Guardian Animals in this situation, I think, is way better than Overflow. Because Overflow is just drawing cards, and... or maybe, like, he sees Kael'thas alternatively, and Ironbark would be better, right? So I would have liked to see the draw first. I like to hear bloodyface's thoughts on that, and why he decided to go for the spell first, but seems like Guardian Animals would have been so much better here.
Yeah. Than the Ironbark. I guess it's... If he had another cheap spell, though, Kael'thas would be playable.
Yeah, but he didn't.
Instead, looks like he's in big trouble.
He's gonna die.
Not if he plays his Teacher's Pet.
I mean,
playing this Overflow, he's going to overdraw 1 card. What can he even find to... I guess in his mind, he is not going to worry about cards like Lightforged Zealot. He's instead just going to worry about what's on the board here, because he goes up to 13, but we know that Firebat has 14 through the weapon next turn.
Yeah, I'm trying to look through. You could pick up double Bog Beam.
Yeah.
But...
Gift of the Wild, just sitting in the hand. Lady Liadrin comes in to add more fuel for next turn, but Firebat has pretty much 2 options here: Lightforged Zealot or Aldor Truthseeker. I imagine that The Lightforged Zealot feels nice to have the weapon because you're probably trying to kill in 2 turns, which the weapon swing allows you to do. A Zixor.
I don't think he wants to kill it this turn to eliminate the possibility of bloodyface drawing it off the top.
Right. I feel like Lightforged Zealot here is just better because you do get to squeeze into hero power. An extra 1/1 could make all the difference, and I don't even think. Yeah, you address this Zixor for the reasons you mentioned. Don't give bloodyface the opportunity to draw it off the top of the deck and then make some magic happen with it.
And nice positioning also here from Firebat, hero powering first. Just to make sure, or, you know, it doesn't matter as long as you place the Goody 2 shield, or Lightforged Zealot. Just for Lake Thresher, if he does pick up a Guardian Animals, means that you're more likely to have a 4/2 survive. Alright, time to go!
Okay.
People are addicted to it.
Yeah,
trade
this
first.
Overflow... Yes, this Overflow has the potential of doing some pretty big stuff, but if he doesn't pick up another cheap spell, his turn is over.
He's got a lot, though. He's got 1 Moonfire, 2 Lightning Blooms, an Innervate, another Bog Beam. It's likely that he'll pick up 1.
Oh, no.
He picked up 1.
Okay. Yeah, but that's not enough by itself. He's alive, I think? Yeah, he's alive because he knows the 2 Librams of Wisdom. But I mean, he's not really living.
Is there a way that he could use Libram Wisdom's trade in, then use them again?
Yes. Oh, actually, is that lethal?
Yeah, it's 6.
Yeah, because the Libras of Wisdom just push 2 extra each.
Yep. Oh, no. Yeah, that was lethal. He puts the Libram of Wisdoms on the Lightforged Zealot. He trades that in at 6 attack, gets the Librams back, and then puts them on the Allura. And that was exactly 6 damage.
Yeah. Oh, wow. What if he gets punished for this?
Is there a punish for it?
Because
Because if he has a minion stick, Lady Liadrin's going to give back enough Libram of Wisdoms to most likely push for lethal damage.
I wonder.
Gidra plus Gidra Lightning Bloom. Lightning Bloom Gidra
Lightning
Overflow.
Bloom first. Okay, that lets Gidra kill off 8 power on the board, and you heal to 7. And 7's on the board.
And he can still pick up a Bog Beam.
Yeah, Bog Beam, 2nd Iron Bark. I'm not sure. This
Iron
is
Bark's
looking
not in the
kind of
deck.
bad.
It was randomly generated.
Right. Bog Beam. Okay. Wait, this still should be lethal, though.
It's lethal, yeah. Lady Liadrin will get back 5?
Yes.
6, 7?
A lot. A lot of Librams.
8? I don't know. I'm gonna guess 7.
Hey.
It was 6 plus a
cards.
Blessing
Well
of
done.
Kings. But I mean,
All right,
you
well,
know,
that's a lot of books.
if he could have gotten punished for missing that lethal, like,
Yeah.
if he didn't have Lady Liadrin in hand, or if for some reason he had cast less Libram Wisdoms that game, or Bloodyface had a better turn than that and could have cleared off more stuff, that's something that you got to clean up there a little bit.
All good because, Firebat able to get the win, and most importantly, got the Paladin out of the way, because Firebat's win rates, according to him, was 100% warrior going into that update. And he was really, really confident with that deck. So I feel like Firebat should still be in a pretty okay spot, but it's definitely not good to be down 0-3 against a Druid. He does have his own Druid remaining. His warrior got banned, and he has brought Priest, and it looks like Firebat's Priest deck is for the Galakron variant. So we'll see. I'm not exactly sold on the Priest versus Druid data right now. I feel like Priest is, has a lot of room to improve, while Druid's just kind of figured out right now in terms of what most people want to be doing. So I am hesitantly awaiting to see that matchup because I've seen it go both ways this weekend so far.
Also, Firebat's Priest is different than a lot of the priests that we're seeing. Doesn't run the Mind Render, doesn't run Wave of Apathy plus Cabal Acolyte, doesn't run Cabal Acolyte at all. Has more invokes because he runs 2 Time Reps, a Shield of Galakron. It's really just the classic Galakron Priest, except it runs the couple additional tools of Raise Dead, Draconic Studies, Cleric of Scales. Like, those are the kind of the additions that he made to like the previous iterations of Galakron Priest prior to Skullman's Academy. But, I don't know if this version's going to perform better than the Cabal Acolyte one because its options of disruption are much less prevalent there because he doesn't have Mind Render to completely blow out a Druid's hand, especially a combo Druid like Bloodyface is playing with Malagos. He can't steal the big minion to disrupt a Twilight Runner played on an empty board turn, that kind of thing. So I'm not sold on it yet, but we're going to get to that later. If Firebat's able to take a win here, he's playing Survival of the Fittest Druid into the Malagos Druid from Bloodyface.
All right, so it is Druid versus Druid. How do you like this matchup? Guardian Druid versus the Malagos Druid at the moment.
So it seems like the Survival of the Fittest Druid just has like more consistent big boards, where once they stick a board, it's always dangerous because of Survival of the Fittest. Whereas the Malagos Druid does have to piece together a lot more things to try and find that win condition. Yes, Druid mirrors just overall right now are just swinging in the fact that if one player draws ramp and one player doesn't, it doesn't matter how their deck is constructed. They're just at a huge advantage because they have additional mana crystals. But I would say that the Malagos Druid probably has bigger spikes, but the Survival of the Fittest Druid is more consistent.
Yeah, I think the data does agree with you. If you look at the large scope of the matchup, if you account for like all skill ranges, it does see Guardian Druid be pretty significantly favored against Malagos Druid, and all the way up to Legend, like the top 1000 filter that you see on some of these data sites, does make Guardian Druid still favored versus Malagos Druid, but it's reducing its win rate with each rank that you kind of increase. So basically what I'm kind of taking away is that Firebat's Guardian Druid is slightly favored against Bloodyface's Malagos Druid, but the more skilled the players go, the more even the matchup becomes, which is a really good sign, right, for the Malagos Druid player, because I trust Bloodyface as a pilot for this deck, and I expect to see some pretty big plays if he's given the time, because it's like you said, it all could be thrown out the window if one player has rampant card draw, another player doesn't.
Yeah. I even asked Hunter-Ace about that in particular, because Hunter-Ace plays a lot of Druid and a lot of Malagos Druid specifically. I asked him which one he thought was better, Survival Druid or Malagos Druid. Not in the context of the matchup itself, but just overall. And he said, I play these decks all day, and I still have no idea. That was his answer. So I think the jury's still out on whether or not one is better than the other. But I guess we'll see over the course of the next couple weeks if both these decks are still brought. Bloodyface desperately trying to find some ramp, either a Dragon for Breath of Dreams or something from Nature Studies, but isn't finding it. And Firebat, I like the go in on the Overgrowth early on, so that way he can get out Twilight Runner going to the next turn, which means he'll start to piece together. He's got the ramp, now he just needs to piece together the draw, and then he's good to go.
He does have an opportunity to get initiative onto the board too through one of these 5-drops. Twilight Runner is usually the candidate you look at to play because you can get that card draw. And that card draw dynamic while having board presence first does kind of put you in the driver's seat. Not to mention that he would be ramping into a card draw effect anyways, like into Overflow. So I kind of like the board presence a little bit more. as it just gives you more to work with, I would say.
Yeah. And he doesn't even. He can just play. I don't even know if I'd Wild Growth here. I might just play a Lake Thresher to get to keep board presence going. Unless, of course, he picks up something that might change his plan, like Overgrowth. More of an argument there because he could Overgrowth into Ysera Unleashed and then follow that up with Overflow. That seems much better.
Yeah. The only reason why I don't like the Lake Threshodon as much is because we're coming up on the Guardian Animal's turn for Bloodyface. So I like this better. Plus, it's kind of like what we're describing. Getting those mana crystals out. Really important for this deck. Bloodyface finds the opportunity to trade as Twilight Runner as well. This kind of dynamic is always interesting because you anticipate your opponent to maybe also have the opportunity to Guardian Animals right back. So you can kind of really get a sense of people's greed levels. If they choose to hold the Twilight Guardian because they have really powerful follow-up to it versus cashing it in now and just understanding the value that you can have immediately with it.
Yeah.
My dream is your nightmare.
All right, let's get rolling. Portal shuffled in. Draw in hand with the overflows. Firebat's cooking with gas. Now, Bloodyface could answer with the same thing. Because he does have the Innervate in hand. He could also go for the Lightning Bloom Gidra Overflow. Which would bring it up to an 8-12, which would allow him to kill off the Ysera Unleashed and still have the 4-2 body and an 8-8 with Wind Fury.
I think I like that. I think I like that because then if his opponent plays Overflow, he heals his opponent's minion.
Yeah, he heals the Gidra and then he takes 16 the following turn. So
yeah, I like that.
And looking at his hand, there's really not much else he can do except play his own Ysera. And doing that would allow him to do this turn, but next turn and have the upside of portals.
My hand is too full.
But honestly, getting this out of the way first and then playing Ysera and then trying to find draw after that seems better because Bloodyface's weakness is that he does have less board presence in the matchup because he can't buff up a big board with Survival of the Fittest. So he wants to get initiative so that way he can fight against it. And Firebat drawing portals right off the bat. And picks up Bog Beam. That's huge.
So big. Also, a little bit of a fumble there from Bloodyface on previous turn with attacking the Ysera, then immediately healing it back. Just missing some slight damage if that was going to be the case.
Yeah. I just don't know what he had to kill.
Right. What he could have done was done the Speaker Gildra and then keep 4 life onto it because he was forced to double attack into it and keep it at a 7 health minion. So that was a pretty significant choice there for Bloodyface. That's going to basically cost him the board state. Pretty uncharacteristic again. We've been kind of highlighting this, that players have been kind of stumbling on broadcast a lot more, and it's the first week of an expansion. There's a lot of interactions that you still haven't gotten the muscle memory of, as the Firebat has the option of going for even deeper board presence here with Germination and that Blessing of the Ancients. I liked either of those. I am curious as to... Oh, wow.
Who's the Malagos Druid now?
Yeah, I was going to say. I am curious as to what's the value of another dragon in hand. I think Firebat just wants stats. I don't even think that it's the dragon that's generated in his hand that's particularly important here.
What?
Yeah, he just... Germination is his biggest thing. That's going to stick around more likely because he picked Blessing the Ancient. So next turn, he has 12... 15, 23, 24, 25 with double Blessing of the Ancients. That's plus 12 more. Way over lethal if this board sticks around, which honestly it looks like it will. Because Bloodyface, he has Swipe to try and pick things apart. which can pick some things apart because the Leg Thresher will be able to hit the Rot Nest Drake.
Time waits for no one.
And he also has a Bog Beam to try and clean up something else, but I don't think it really works out.
Yeah,
fantastically.
it's a tough spot here because bloodyface had Kael'thas and all these cheap spells, but nothing to actually combo with. Like, are you going to play Forest Aid with Kael'thas? Like, not really. You want to Germinate Kael'thas and just duplicate the same exact effect? No, you want to use that on Malygos. He has like this really powerful looking hand, but not a lot of substance. And meanwhile, Firebat, he's got a lot going. He's got Blessing of the Ancients, 6'10", 19 on the board.
Could? No, I don't think there can be a lethal here because he's used Bog Beam. Because this turn, assuming there's no taunt from the Teacher's Pet, he could have pushed
Right.
24.
He kind of waited to get past it.
So he would have been
Malygos.
He would have been 7 off with double Blessing the Ancients.
Right.
Time waits for no one.
Jeez. Oh my gosh.
Is that enough?
I mean, that is lethal. That
Yeah,
has
it
to be
is.
lethal. It's okay. I don't think bloodyface you were going to win, even if that survival of the fittest wasn't off the top. I think it's just when it rains, it pours. That's game 4 over to Firebat. We have a tied series. Start things off in day number 2, but they're kind of quick. You know, I appreciate the quick pace here, given that yesterday was quite the slugfest back and forth. And now we have 2 quick games that the Paladin lost, and then 2 quick games where the Malygos Druid lost. And, you know, we'll see if this Malygos Druid is able to beat the Priest, because on paper it should be doing better than the Guardian Druid, because you have a way to combo the Priest out of the game.
And Firebat's not running Mind Render, so bloodyface doesn't have to have any worries about his hand being disrupted by that effect. So he can take it slow, assemble his combo piece, and just make sure that he can guarantee it, because there's a consistent way that you can guarantee the combo with this form of Malygos Druid with Forest Warden, Omu, and Germination.
Right, which I think that's what ultimately bloodyface's plan was. Most druids would be loathing, rolling their eyes, matching up against Priest at the moment, because, you know, they play all this big stuff and Priest just keeps clearing the board and removing stuff or even stealing it, while the Malygos Druid tends to do much better. Now, instead of being the pretty significant underdog like 60-40, it now has the 55-45 edge or so, give or take. So Firebat, he's the one. The onus is on him to be able to make the plays, because the game plan for Malygos Druid is pretty straightforward. Bide your time until you get that combo damage, and so Firebat has to take the initiative and be very proactive. You know, fortunate for Firebat fans, that's one of his biggest attributes as a player. He's very good at finding ways to generate cards, or generate tempo, and maximize his amount of damage, and try to pressure with the tools that he's given.
Problem is, this Priest deck relies on things that aren't at the player's control in order to gain decent amounts of tempo.
Oh, gosh.
Did I just see the hand that I think I just saw from bloodyface?
It looks really good,
I saw
DJ.
it. I saw it.
It looks super good.
That's the juice right there. Breath of Dreams plus a dragon plus overgrowth.
Yeah. Firebat has a reasonable curve. Apotheosis is kind of hard for the Druid to deal with early. Firebat sees the immediate rip.
You know what's also hard to deal with early? A Ysera Unleashed.
Kind of. Priest is a class that actually can deal with it, though.
Yeah, time rip. But then can you deal with the dragons? Oh my gosh. I mean, that second Breath of Dreams is overkill.
It's just card draw at this point, which post Ysera is what you're looking for.
Okay. Draconic Studies. Probably was hoping for one of the 4-mana dragons like Twilight Drake or that can't be targeted by spells that for some reason I can't remember the name of it.
Fairy
Something
Dragon,
that he could play for
Evasive Fey Wing.
tempo. Evasive Feywing, there you go. That would be good for this board. Like Evasive Feywing would have been nuts for this board because he could have just kept the pressure up. I guess Aeon Reaver's not bad because he can react to whatever big thing that Bloodyface is going to play next turn. Bloodyface decides to not go for the Sarah Unleashed and with the coin and innervate. So there's a lot of garbage that Firebat could be offered with this Madame Lazul.
Innervate. He knows coin's being held, right?
Yeah. See what he gets. Yep. A lot of garbage. I guess coin?
I suppose so. It's like adding innervate.
Yeah. It lets him Murs on next turn, assuming that Bloodyface is going to play a big turn. Oh.
My dream is your nightmare.
He can get a 4/12 here if he wants it from the Murzon, a 4/12 and an 8/8, which, with how he's been playing this game, honestly seems decent. Bloodyface is at 17 life. If he can't deal with an 8/8, oh, and
Oof.
Portal right on the top of the deck.
Oh!
And it's an evasive Draconid. He does have Aeon Reaver to deal with it, but that interrupts the plan of wanting to Murzon to match his big turn, because he won't get it because it was a portal.
He will be casting also the Bog Beam
Okay.
if he does do it.
Could
But,
go
yeah.
horribly wrong.
Could go horribly wrong. Alternatively, he can just kind of chill.
Aeon
Like if he
Reaver
plays
trade?
Aeon Reaver, he can coin the penance and like
Okay.
keep pushing damage that way.
Okay. But then he
It's
can't
not
play Murzon
amazing.
next turn because it would use up
Right.
his Draconic Studies. It feels like he wants to use up, or he wants to keep Murzon because that's his only proactive play right now. So if he uses Aeon Reaver and uses coin, then it shuts off the Murzon completely.
Your future is
Yeah, I just killed it.
Yeah.
I agree, and then you can save the coin. It's not pretty, but
All right.
it's looking bad here for Firebat.
Yep. He's a swipe and a Malagos away from essentially killing him. But at this point, he probably won't even need it because he's just drawing portals from his deck with his Twilight Runner. Okay, Twilight Drake's not good. Let's see what else is in here.
Life and hope.
All right,
Oh, boy.
8/8s. I'll take an 8/8.
Yeah. Bloodyface has a full hand, would like to dump. The Speaker Gildra.
Yeah. I like just playing the Speaker Gidra on board because Firebat's only real way to answer this is Soul Mirror. And if he Soul Mirrors, then Speaker Gidra is just going to get massive next turn because it won't die to the Soul Mirror. So I like just playing this. He needed to dump a card, and because of the reason I just said, I'd rather dump that than a coin or an Innervate because that can unlock like a Kael'thas if you were to draw next turn. He has a ton of cheap spells, but Firebat just doesn't have a great way to answer all this. He probably has to deal with the Speaker Gidra, so it's probably some form of AoE, like Breath of the Infinite and Holy Nova, just to be mana efficient.
Yeah, there's still 14 power remaining on the board, which means that the 9 damage from hand brings Bloodyface very close to killing. Jeez. 10, 14 plus the 10 is 24. I mean,
You could just play a minion, hero power, and go.
right.
Like Thresher also not at this point. Firebat needs to pull him out, but like Thresher and Ysera Unleashed don't even die to the Soul Mirror. Although Soul Mirror on Lake Thresher, you do have to think about where you're positioning it because the Soul Mirrored copy of it will use its effect from when it attacks, so it'll attack what's ever next to it. So
Okay. This is a lot of cards being played. This might give
All right.
Firebat a pretty decent Murzon opportunity.
Yeah. Will it be enough? That's the question. Another Twilight Drake. Wow.
Another Twilight Dragon Queen Alex
Looks
Strava.
like I'm
Or
here
8-8.
just in time.
Ember Watcher, all right.
Parting with his Moonfire because he doesn't feel like he needs it as much.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Murzon time. We'll see if he draws anything meaningful.
Moonfire on the 4-1? Nope. Move on the 4-1? Nope.
Yeah. Too bad you don't get the Dragon Portals, the Dream Portals, because that is not something played.
So if he
Breath of
uses
the Infinite gains 4 life right now.
yeah, Penance gains 7. So if he uses Penance here, 12, 13, 14, 18, 22. Hit on board.
Yeah, there's just no way to survive this.
Yep. Unfortunately for Firebat. And, that's kind of the problem with the Libra Paladin. If you tank so many games with Libra Paladin, give your opponent 3 games to win with Malagos Druid, they're going to find one of them where they have that sick ramp start, which is what bloodyface had. So, even though he made it close, ultimately bloodyface is going to take the victory.
That's right. And so, a lot of people's #1 ranked player currently in the Americas, bloodyface, starts off his broadcast debut for this season with another win, as he will be awaiting Language Hacker versus No Hands Gamer. The winner of that series will be going through, as we will be advancing 2 players through to top 4. Firebat still has a chance, just has to kind of chill for a couple of series. And in the meantime, we're going to head over to the bottom half of the bracket for today. And then after today, we have tomorrow's top 4, which is going to start a little bit earlier. At least I think it will, because we have only 3 matches. And so we'll see how that ends up handing out here. But a job well done to bloodyface. And all things considering, I felt like that was a very short best of 5 that went all 5 games. That was not actually quite the expected length of it, given that we had a lot of game 5s yesterday, and each series seemed to last about 2 hours.
Yeah, this one was a solid hour, right where you expect a 5-game best of 5 to be. So that's what Libram Paladin and aggressive rogues allow you the comfort of being able to have. So props to them. But next series we have some different decks from yesterday too. So looking forward to that one with Language Hacker and No Hands Gamer.
Very much so. They featured 2 Warlock decks, which is pretty unusual, but we saw Tice do very well in Europe today with Warlock. We've seen a couple of other heroic Warlock attempts.